CXO Community.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being with us today. I'm really excited to be here in Chicago this year, and I think we're also going to have a very interesting conference. We hope to find some exciting presentation and a lot of new things in our product. I wanted to start with something a little bit different when we speak about security. Before I start my presentation, I want to once again thank you all for being with us today. We welcome you. We have very nice attendance, 30%, 40% more people than last year event, which is good testimony to your interest in Checkpoint and maybe to the attractiveness of Chicago. By the way, people in the back, there's plenty of spaces forward. See that there are many people standing there. So welcome to Chicago, and thank you for being with us today. What I'd like to discuss would be, I can go forever and speak about the qualities and about the features and about the innovation and what we do in our product. I've been doing that for 18 years since writing the first Firewall 1 and introducing some of the concepts that are very small in this part of the bigger company, but are still in the product. What I wanted to discuss is a little bit more about where we stand today in the world of security and what we think security should evolve into and how it should change. If we start about the trend, we are visiting everywhere in the world, we're meeting with many of you, with the press, with analysts, with customers, partners, and we've collected some information about what's the major trends in IT and related to security. It's not easy to summarize it into one slide, but we tried. So we've seen three major trends in IT as we look into 2011. One is on the infrastructure. Over the past 15 years, we've built a lot of sophisticated infrastructure. We've built hundreds and thousands of servers for each application, and now we see a trend in the infrastructure toward consolidation. Part of it means also virtualization of different servers, and part of it even means moving some things into the cloud or I don't know if it exists, cloudization. So that's one major trend that I think all of us see in the IT environment. The second trend is something that's also been worked for many years, almost 10 years, but only in the last year or 2 years it became reality, and that's mobility. And that's the need and the ability with our handheld, with our iPhone, Android phone, walk everywhere and access our work-related information all the time. That's a trend that also has become real, and we're seeing more and more demand now for enterprises to connect their people to do that security. And the last one, these two trends are more related to our work environment in general. The last one is a little bit more related to security, and that's the whole challenge of data leakage. Last year we've seen, in my experience, for the first time that security issues become major issues not for one day or one headline, but for long periods of time. And in my meetings, the first time that I see CEOs of major companies, Fortune 10 companies, really concerned about something that has to do with security, not concerned in the sense that they say this is a technical problem, my IT staff will handle that, but concerned to the point that they want to know the plans, the contingency plans, and how to avoid the next big damage in terms of information disclosure and data. If you look at these three trends that I think are very important, how do we stack against them? And again, a long list of products and technologies, but I can also say one sentence in that we actually give a lot of good solutions to them. The infrastructure, our appliances, our high-end appliances that are in the data center are doing extremely well. We have the VE and the VSX solution for virtualization also doing very well. In the cloud, we're introducing more and more offerings, and again, we're making some headway there as well. So I think overall, this has worked well, and we have good solutions in Checkpoint to many of the challenges. Mobility, we introduced at the end of 2010 our mobile blade, connecting to every new gateway, and takes the complexity of 4 or 5 different security products that are used to connect mobile devices in a secure manner, and in one simple blade, turn it into an instant one-click access from any iPhone. Very easy, very simple, and much more powerful than most technologies we use today to connect mobile devices. And in data linkage, we've been anticipating the challenge. We've seen the challenge for data security. We started back in 2007 by securing data stored on laptops. We've continued with more and more solutions. And last year, we finally launched our DLP solution, now the DLP Blade. That again makes, I think, a revolution in data linkage, not a year-long, multi-million-dollar project that at the end just inspects data, but something that you can turn on in one day, move to prevention mode, and really block data linkage in a very revolutionary way. So overall, I think you can see that we are doing quite well and making a lot of progress addressing today's challenges. But I wouldn't make this whole presentation just to summarize what happened in the first slide, because the big question that we should ask ourselves is that enough? Are we doing enough to secure our enterprises, our customers, and the internet in the world in general? If you look at the challenge that we have today, if you look at the security world today, security today is a collection of many, many different technologies. 18 years ago, when I started Checkpoint, security was mostly about, let's say, having an antivirus against malware. Then we brought to the world the firewall, and security was still relatively simple. And over the last almost 2 decades, very, very long time in my life, most of my life, and security became much more complicated. Today, there's more than 500 security vendors, and many of you, we surveyed and checked using security solutions for more than 15 different vendors. So security has become much bigger, much more complicated, and in my opinion, that's not necessarily helping us deliver better security. The complexity, the need to connect different products, create actually not just cost and complexity, but also lack of security. There's a lot of small fragments, small parts that all the different security products create. And that's simply not enough anymore. So what is enough? What do we need to do? You remember Checkpoint introduced a few years ago the software-led architecture. That's a very good framework for flexible security, for consolidated security. I think that's an important technological step. But my view today, or the going to present today, is that technology alone is not enough. Security should go beyond just being a collection of technology and should become a business process. And what does that mean? In the rest of the presentation, actually, I try to explain what do we mean by business process and some of the basic steps of how to demonstrate that and make that a reality, not just a nice vision in the world. So what is more than technology? So security starts with enforcement, and most of our technology today is within the enforcement. And enforcement is very important, but as we know, and I hate these analogies, but if you try to create a defense strategy, you will buy plenty of weapons, the best weapons in the world, you won't be more protected. We need to know how to use it, and we need to develop an integrated strategy. So all our different defenses work with the same strategy together in a combined effort. So we need to combine that and make it right, but in order to do that, we can't just start with technology. We need to start with what our policy. What are we trying to achieve? And the policy not by saying that each server needs to have antivirus software installed, for example. That's not a policy, that's a technical solution. And policy that says what are we actually trying to achieve as a business? Who should access what things are acceptable, not acceptable, and with that starts the policy. And I'll explain in a minute, I'll give you an example. And last but not least, there's two elements here. There's a third element, and that's us both us as the users, the user in the company, and the IT people in the organization. People are a very important part of security. If people don't understand what they are trying to achieve, how to achieve, or what they are expected to do, and talking about every user of the company, people are the weakest link and will become a bigger weakest link. Not because by way of bad intention or anything, this is true, but mainly because of ignorance, mainly because if we don't know what we're doing, we're likely to make mistakes. These mistakes will have our information leak, or will enable malware to get inside our company. So if I take these three elements, that will create what we call a business process, a combination of the enforcement, the policy, and the people. And that's what we want to talk about. Our main focus, starting this year and hopefully for many years, is taking security to the next dimension and introducing what we call the 3D security. So the checkpoint 3D security is focusing on these three pillars: policy, people, and enforcement. As I said, the policy should focus on the actual business. And the people, I'm not expecting the people to become security experts. Not every user needs to know about security, but the users can and should be involved. I'll give you one example. Today, many companies, we want the users to be aware of the company policies. What do we do? And I know it as a CEO. We make the user sign a bunch of documents that we read, all the policies available. What's happened in reality? 70–80%, in my opinion, maybe even more, don't even read the policy, they just sign the document. We're unaware of what is expected. We understand the general subject, it exists, but not what we're expected to do. Even those who read the policy don't try to understand it or challenge themselves what does that mean for their behavior. So we have people sign policy, but at the end, there's no link to the treatment. So involving people doesn't mean that we make everybody an expert or we make them read very long books. It means that we make them aware of the principles and we make the policy extremely simple. And as much as we can make it transparent for them. I'll give you a few examples of how we do that. And finally, the enforcement element, we have the policy and we know what we want to achieve. We can get the right elements for enforcement. We want also as much as possible consolidate that, and really be able to control that and to make sure that all the elements of the security strategy are working together. So let's see what do I mean by process and policy. How do we define that? What needs to be done in order to define the right process? The reality today, what we have, our surveys and our customers revealed that many mid-sized and small companies don't really have security policy. Large corporations tend to have policy, but these policies range from being like checklists of this is the 50 things you need to do when you turn on the server. Some of them are security related, some not. As I said, this is a very important technology checklist, not a security policy. Some of them have comprehensive and big security policies, but they tend to be, as I said, very complicated, very administrative. Nobody or most users, I would say, don't understand them, and also not very pragmatic. They don't always cover what we're trying to achieve. And that's what we want to start to change. We want to start defining policies that will be very simple, something that with 1 page, 2 pages, maybe 3 pages, every user can read and understand and know what's expected, that will be usable. So we can actually know what we're trying to do. To give you a simple example, a checkpoint. We can have a long checklist of how to configure each firewall, each server, each list of access rights for each application. That's a nice checklist. What are we really trying to achieve? So one basic, simple thing about our security policy is that our biggest asset, the source code of our product, should only be accessed by developers who need to access it, and only within the company premises. That's a very simple rule. It's not about long checklist of how to configure and which products to implement. It's not about enforcement technologies. It's just a simple rule. Now, if you're a developer or a user who sits at home and have access to the source code, you know that something's wrong. Either you're doing something bad, or somebody needs to configure the system to allow you access to things that you're not supposed to do. Now, if you're an IT person, an IT security expert, you will know what you need to do to defend that source code, because the policy is extremely simple around this area. So a policy should be something easy, simple, well understood. And that should be the core of our policy. And if you look now, I'm not trying to say here that it should be overly simplistic, because at the end, the policy starts with this area, data access policy, which should be able to access all types of data. Few other things like mobile access policy, which people should be accessing the company from outside the company, and what data they should be able to access. Again, not the same rules, not the same principles in every company, and there is a security risk by accessing data outside the company, but there's also a new business need. So this is the policy. Policy should balance between them. What can we do on the network and many other areas? That's the beginning of the policy, and that should be relatively straightforward set of questions that we should ask ourselves, and based on them, have a policy. Then there is a set of programs that we have, like how do we make people aware of this? And give you the example of Checkpoint. 2 years ago we started that. We've built a very nice simple webcast that every new employee, actually we did that for all employees, now the new employees have to go through and in 10-20 minutes learn about the security principles of Checkpoint, what's document classified restricted, what's highly restricted, what's the principle in security, why is it important, and have to go through an online test for 10 minutes, and makes you think, makes you realize, or makes see that you actually understand how to do it. And people actually like that. It's not a long document that you need to read and sign. It's like a game of answering correctly the questions. And if you don't have, by the way, the new employee to join the company doesn't get network access before they pass the test. So also being very important. And then there is a set of administrative or managerial procedures, technology procedures, like how do we make a change in security or to change the policy. There's exceptions to everything. How do we handle exceptions? Exceptions, by the way, create some of the biggest security risks. We open something in the firewall because somebody needs to access a critical server for maintenance in urgent manner. We leave it open forever because we forgot. So exception management is important. And maybe the most important element is an audit program that we take each area of the policy and let's say every month, every 2 months, check one area like that, and based on that, improve the security for almost everyone of the program, define things that can and should be improved. So this is how we want to go, and some of the blueprint that we will start introducing from Checkpoint in the next few months, in the next few years, to help everyone define the right policy and the right business process. And so what are we trying to do in Checkpoint? You know us, you know that what we're doing in Checkpoint is developing products and developing technology. We're not trying to change them. We are still working on them. What we want to do in 2011 is start to provide more and more tools to run the security business process. Some will be new tools and some will be existing products that I will show in a second. To start speaking that language, the language of business, the language of policies, not just the language of technicalities. And I think what's also interesting is the security expertise. We have in Checkpoint 2,400 employees. I believe about 2,000 of them, maybe more, are security experts. Security experts in testing security, security experts in customer environment, security experts in development. This knowledge is huge, and we should not just speak about today's product and today's feature. We should make our people deliver the message of security expertise. On top of that, if you look at our channel partners that are well represented in this audience, this is an amazing audience. This is an amazing set of experts that are the closest to the customer, that are the closest to the information infrastructure, and we should extend that force so that no company in the world has the combination of our people and our channel partners And being today, as you know, that Checkpoint today is the largest pure play independent security company. That's the largest force that's completely dedicated to security, and we should turn that knowledge not just into product development and product sales, but deliver the message and the expertise needed to deliver more secure environment. As I said, the main thing we do is develop product. And earlier this year we introduced R75, our latest product. I think it's a very revolutionary product, not just because it has many new blades, the application control, the DLP, and many others, but also because it's the first one to focus and demonstrate the 3D security thinking, 3D security vision. Let me give you a few examples before I finish, and how are we doing that, and how we are turning from talking about vision to actually implementing that in the. Let's start with the first example. Network access management is the first role of the firewall. We've been doing that for the last 7 years, and doing it very successfully in the most popular, and I think you've already seen in the last few months with reports like TMSS, also the highest, the most secure and really differentiated security from everything else in every other firewall in the world. So we're doing that very well. But let's see how we make that firewall stick to the business language in its most basic function, network access management. So today, when we look at the firewall, it controls the IP addresses, it controls the devices, it controls many different things. What does the firewall administrator get every day? Actually, it's not every day, sometimes it's every hour. Hundreds of thousands and millions of security logs. In many cases, you can see here 200,000 security logs that in some environments it's a day, in some environments it's half an hour. It's a huge amount of information. Now, what do we know about that information? I don't know if you can see it yet, but I'm sure you've seen this phrase many times. We'll say 10, 1, 11, 54, 21, HTTP. Then another one, also HTTP, then some few other words. What can we know about this data? There's been a lot of traffic. Some of it was blocked, most of it was passed, and yes, people do a lot of HTTP. Do we really understand what people are doing on our network? Not really. No, many things there on HTTP. Do we really understand if people took unnecessary security risks? In many cases, not really. And can we sort through all even the rejected or dropped events? Also, very hard to do with that amount of information. Still doing a very good job blocking many of the bad things. How do we change that? So that's the view that you're going to see in R75. We take these hundreds of thousands of records and we translate it into something that makes business sense. What we can see here is very easy. 523 users have used Facebook, and they consume almost a gigabyte of data in the last 12 hours. Not a very high security risk, but some companies, their policy might be that they want to control that access in some ways, and now we can do that. Next level is YouTube. Again, level 2 of security threat, not low risk, not a major risk to security. 133 users. And this time we can be grouped by application category, by application name, by the user, by any field here you can sort it and group it based on the right field. The access profile of an individual user rather than the whole application. And the last one is the most interesting one. That's BitTorrent. That's actually using HTTP most of the time. So otherwise we wouldn't even notice that. There's only one user using it, and that's very good because I hope that user doesn't work at Checkpoint, because that's a real security. That means that somebody opened an internal computer into the company or an external network, and through that computer people are able to access files and may be able to do our bad things to the entire network infrastructure. Now we know that we have a real security threat here. This is very easy to block with that product. Now you can say block BitTorrent or block level police or block many different things that you want to block. And now, instead of having tons of information, very simple, meaningful, business insight about what's going on in our system and how we can handle that and how we can make it work for us. That's one step toward working with policy and working with business terminology. I'll show you a different, another example, last example, and how we involve the people in 3D security. So I've talked about making it seamless and relatively transparent to users. I've talked about the need to educate the users. Let's see how all of that can be implemented in the product. And here is the example. Today, we are all users. We are sometimes trying to access things that we're not supposed to access, or we are trying to send files we're not supposed to access. Most times we won't get anything. Sometimes we will get this kind of error. The data we're trying to access is blocked. That's it. So let's say I wanted to send a large file with a lot of customer data, and I send it to an external user. That's a security risk. Then I get some error like that. Email wasn't sent. Access was blocked. What would I do? I don't understand what I did wrong. Either I'll drop it, which is good because I didn't do a bad thing, but in most cases I'll try to find a way around that. And by the way, by not sending a big file, that doesn't mean that next time I won't send a small file that could violate security policy. If I didn't learn anything, I didn't get an explanation, I didn't get a way to resolve it. And what I'll do in many cases, I'll take the big file, squeeze it, make it small, and still send it. And no security was achieved. How are we changing that? And here's an example from our daily play. We get a very simple explanation saying, data loss prevention alert. The file you are sending looks like it has customer information disclosure in it. Now I need to make a decision. So if I do a simple mistake, I dismiss or discard that, nothing bad happened, and I got educated. I got educated that I was trying to do something against the company policy, and I can understand it the next time. Let's say I still want to send it. I have a nice contract that I want to, that's confidential, but I want to share it with my lawyer. I need to send button, so now I can resolve it. Now I can really do my job. I need to provide an explanation, like confidential data sent to the corporate lawyer, and that's it. And so now I comply. I know what I did right or wrong. I got educated. And guess what? The security administrator wants to know why did I send a file that looks suspicious. Now it's very easy. We have the one line that says from Gil, corporate data to the lawyer. Now they can see the email address that I provided is the lawyer address, so we can verify that. And that's it. Before that, I always think about the different DLP solution that the security administrator will get a bunch of data, email addresses. How do they know that email is a lawyer or not lawyer? Or how do they guess? They're running all sorts of problems. Privacy issues. They need to read my emails to understand. If they read my emails, what do they get out of that? Today it's very simple. If they see that the address is the lawyer's address, that makes sense. If they see that the address is Gil at Gmail, they'll ask themselves, maybe it doesn't make sense. Maybe the explanation is bad. Our experience, by the way, reduced the number of security incidents that the IT administrator had to handle between 95 to 99%. And now we don't get security incidents anymore. It's being handled automatically. And the incidents that we do go through, where people did use them or other things, are very simple. Because now there's a clear explanation, clear evidence, and it's very easy to resolve all issues in even the cases that people did something right or did something wrong. So this shows you how we actually take something very, very simple and make people part of the security process in a very simple way. People should be aware of the corporate policy if the product can actually seamlessly and transparently educate them and become simple. And when we do that, people will become and be an important part of security rather than users will be the enemy of security, they will be part of achieving it. So we demonstrated some ideas about the policy, the people. Finally, how do we get control over all of this? If you look at each one of your environments, I just took some aspects of IT security, handling mobility, handling data, handling malware, and embed that each one of your environment you deploy least 80% of the technology on this slide, we have not all the technologies. This is a lot, this is complex. How do we make sure that the access rights or the mobility are consistent with the access rights of the data, that the encryption that we use on the endpoint is consistent with the access to the VPN, that many of these technologies, for example, should reside in the network, they should reside on every endpoint. How do we make sure it all works together? That's pretty bad, and I think this needs to be consolidated so all the layers will act together. From the user, from the content, the application, the data, to the network, everything should be consistent, should be managed together, and with one another. And I think we've made the first step to that about 2 years ago. Now, working in most customer environments, the software-grade architecture is a big step and a big thing that can help you do it, providing the maximum flexibility and yet at the same time consolidating the management, consolidating the technology without sacrificing flexibility, without sacrificing quality, and it's done not even right, it's done anyway, it's huge savings on the purchasing cost and on the total cost of ownership. This is the three elements of the 3D security, and look at that, 3D security is much more than just a technology. It means that we're moving security from being just a technological domain to be a true business process and an effective one. It means that we're stepping up the level of awareness and the level of management of security from, again, very detailed technical aspects to a multi-dimensional integrated solution. And together, if we do it right, that means that we will take the security to really the next level. And the next level is not just more technologies in the network, it's putting it together. And what that means for us and for you, that we will move from providing just a collection of technologies. And when talking about technologies, that's the same thing that you're going to do, to look at the business process around it, and from providing one product, we're going to talk and implement and work with actual security solutions. And that's a very, very big change when you think about it practically and philosophically, both ways. I think we can achieve a lot, and we can do much more with the same resources or even with less resources. So I think that my message together, it's time to redefine security. We can make it an effective business process, and I think working with Checkpoint, with our partners, the largest dedicated security partner network, we can make security something bigger, better, and really step up security into the next decade. And we get to 2011 or 2020. And so let's summarize my presentation. We'll conduct a quick session with some of your questions. Before I do that, I want to thank our sponsors here, that also participate in the CPX Expo outside here. All the companies from Cyclone, Zscaler, RSA, Tina, Resilience, Skybox, Tupi, Stockfree, Backbox, Almosec, our prime sponsors, Microsoft, Fujitsu, Firewall, the platinum sponsors that we have, diamond sponsors that we have, CrossFit. Thank you very much for being with us today. It is a huge opportunity for all of us here to meet with our partners and for the partners to do this event. And mainly thank you all for being with us today and sharing this conference with us. Thank you.